To raise a mug and tell tales is a good thing. The game is only a reason to gather. Friendship first, all else second.
Hey Colin, Jason here. Really enjoyed your responses to the first set RPG a Day 2022 prompts. Yeah, I definitely role-played prior to being introduced to role-playing games like you. I remember being on the playground and whether we were playing Chips. I don't know, did you guys watch Chips over there with, where they were Eric Estrada, where they were riding California Highway Patrol, riding the motorcycles? Or superheroes, playing like Doctor Doom and Namor the Submariner, who we're finally going to get to see on the big screen. I know that probably doesn't excite you a whole lot, but even as a little kid, prior to being introduced to role-playing games, and that would have been like kindergarten, first grade, I guess. I kind of knew who Namor was, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. But anyway, I will talk to you later. Great job.
Jason Connolly of the Nerds RPG Variety Cast, kicking things off with the deep cut. Oh man, Chips. We most certainly had Chips. Many fond memories spent at my nanny flats watching Chips. I used to love the opening sequence where you got to see their bike and all their gear and their belt and their guns and their hat and oh man, I used to love that program. Loved it. The superheroes, not so much. Well, I tell a lie. I mean, I don't. Did you say Namor or something? No idea what you're talking about there, mate. But the amazing Spider-Man and his amazing friends and the Fantastic Four, and loved them. And even managed to pick up the odd sort of American comic from random sort of news agents. It was really patchy where I lived, anything like that. And I was never great at reading comics. I weren't sure which bubble I was supposed to read next. Yeah, I guess I'm just bad. I'm bad when it comes to nerd culture. But it's all good fun. And thanks for the call in, Jason. It ties in quite nicely with the theme of today, or the question that I'm tackling next. Deep down, is there a little bit of nerd in each of us? How many of us got into that pretend thing when they were kids? I mean, I only can speak of my own experience, and I've seen my kids. But I wonder, maybe this pretend stuff isn't for everyone. Maybe it is. Anybody asking that question? Can you predict a role player by looking at them as young children, what they were into? Did they play doctor and nurses? Did they play Star Wars and army in a playground? Did they run around pretending to be Superman? Are these the role players of the future? Who knows? Question 6. How would you get more people playing RPGs? Well, obviously, I'm going to answer this question with some more ICRPG talk. In the book, Hank has come up with a classic 3-word acronym, DEW, D-E-W, and he says, do the DEW. This is something I took away. I made like a little, ironically, an index card with this on. Or did I put it in my notebook? Or did I do both? Sometimes I stick index cards in my notebooks. And the D stands for danger, E for energy, and W for wonder. He uses it in his philosophy for design. But in a shorter session, I tend to run shorter sessions, this can kind of be applied to a session in general. And looping back round to RPG a day and answering the question, if I could take anything from the kind of the oath of the GM and how you leverage that to get players back and inspire folks to take up RPG and keep returning to the table, I think you've got to design solid sessions, and doing the due, danger, energy, wonder, it is a great way to achieve that. So just to throw a little bit more light on this, danger is not damage, it's not death. In Hank's words, danger is the consequences if they should fail. Often in tabletop games, players become brazen. They conquer all the encounters and fear nothing. You will break that trend. Villages will fall to famine and death without their help. The innocent will burn, souls will be damned, and all they dreamed of will not only be lost but erased from history. Make failure dire as the blackest night of creation. Each room you design will have a beginning and a goal. If that goal is not reached, death will be the very least of their problems. Then energy. I'm just going to read this straight out of the book because I can't improve on it. There is no overstating the importance of a boisterous, engaged group and GM to make a great session. As the curator of the fun, you must ensure that energy stays high throughout the encounter. Do not let anything create a lull that could let the peril seem distant. Ensure that your encounters have sustained energy by keeping your notes brief and easy to recall. Move from turn to turn with excitement and always call characters' names and not player names. Keep eyes and ears right there with you. Enhance things they find interesting and discard whatever leaves them flat. After each encounter, players should be dying for a break. Make it intense. And then his most lengthy bit is about wonder, and as I read it you'll understand why. Many GMs master the first two DEW or DEW principles. So why do so many games fizzle? Often it is a lack of wonder. Wonder is the most challenging area for the GM to create. It is the imagery and descriptions that are awe-inspiring to visualise. Colossal objects in space, dizzying pits in hell, seas of monsters or scenes of abject terror writ large. Whatever you're seeing, take one piece and make it grand. Make it ancient, gigantic, crumbling, burning, infested, arcane or arachnid. Tell them of the sweeping waves crashing like thunder, the soaring black wings in a tornado of fire, or an anchor the size of a city slamming into the stone like a hammer of God. Show them the world is older than time and more profound than lost love. Hide a god in a flower or cast them across the centuries with a kiss. In tabletop games there is no limit to what you can conjure, so go big. The easiest way to do this, all that hugeness aside, is with the creatures they encounter. Let them battle the giant, the mutated, the flaming or the spectral. Don't limit their foes to evil humanoids, scores of anonymous orcs or disposable zombies. Surprise and amaze them. Here's where your knowledge of movies, history, world culture and literature will all come in handy. The players should look back on their exploits and shake their heads with disbelief. Remember that time? And that is what I am going to be working on. I need to work on that W, get some extra wonder into my games. And this is what I say. I always, without fail, find inspiration in Hank's writing. It's not to everyone's taste, but I hope you enjoyed that. Day 7. Describe a cool part of a system that you love. So a cool part of a system I love. Well, take 5e. This is a great example. Look how it manages to polarise the gaming community into them and us. I mean, that can't be easy. All right. I admit it, that was a little bit salty, but I tell you why. It's because I exist somewhere in the middle between two what I see as clearly opposing camps. They may pretend to be nice and tolerant of each other, but It always creeps in. You spend any time on Discord, you, as someone in the middle of this, you will get most frustrated with the sweeping generalisations that crop up. And in fact, getting this background to ICRPG a day, I was watching old Hank on his most recent YouTube stream talking about generalisations, and I'm glad to see he's a man that hates a generalisation too. Oversimplification and generalisations and assumptions, things like that, it's poor communication. It gets us into so much trouble, especially on Discords. Just because a bunch of folk maybe are gathering there because they share a certain interest, you can't rule out people that are not so enthusiastic about that topic. And I don't know, it's the tribal nature of it all can get a little bit much. However, I'll take a few deep breaths and move on, because I'm keeping it positive. It is the tsunami of positivity that is RPG a Day 2022, and a lots to celebrate in the hobby. For me, the coolest part of ICRPG is the way that Hank manages to distill it into all these little chunks, using what appears to be the rule of three. Now, I don't recall him talking too much about the rule of three, but everywhere he uses little acronyms. I've just talked about danger, energy and wonder. Then you've got the 3 T's: timers, threats and treats. You've got the 3 D's: damage, disruption, duration. And it goes on and on throughout this book. I think neurologically there must be something similar with the way my brain works and Hank's brain works. I feel like that is kind of some kind of admission. But yeah, man, I just get that thinking. And there you go, that is a wrap. A big thanks goes out to the pit crew, the generous folks supporting my endeavours over on Spike Pit Patreon, and a big thanks goes out to you, the listener, for taking a bit of time out of your day to listen to old Spike Pit. Take care, and I'll catch you later.